TV47 News tonight. These are some of the stories making headlines.
On TV47 News tonight, the Senate finally approves the adoption of counties' revenue share, pegged on the previous formula, albeit with loud opposition from few senators who termed the move as deferring a problem. Efforts to table an impeachment motion against Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi degenerates into a brutal attack on unarmed MCAs by the police. Plus, COVID-19 patients could soon start being referred to other counties that are adequately prepared and less burdened by the virus. And it's a bad to worse scenario for restaurants and bar owners as the government bans sale of alcohol in restaurants. Lack of medical evidence that alcohol spikes COVID-19 infections notwithstanding.
A very warm welcome. My name is Mombi Chege. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Faith Cheptile. Now, Embakasi area in Nairobi County has been declared a COVID-19 hotspot due to the high rate of infections recorded in the area. Now, this even as the number of COVID-19 cases in the country rises to 18,581 after 606 people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours. Zainab Mohammed has the details.
As Kenya continues to record a surge in COVID-19 numbers, Nairobi County has been the leading county in COVID-19 transmissions, with the Ministry of Health now declaring Embakasi area in Nairobi a COVID-19 hotspot due to the high number of cases recorded in the area. According to Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, necessary measures will be taken should the area continue reporting a rising number of COVID-19 infections.
Embakasi now has become a serious hotspot. If you're living in the Embakasi area, you need to know that Embakasi is a hotspot, and further measures may have to be taken as regards the containment of some of the fast areas that are growing way too fast.
According to the statistics, on Tuesday, Embakasi area reported a total of 178 cases distributed across Embakasi East with 84 cases, Embakasi West 33 cases, Embakasi South 28 cases, Embakasi Central 18 cases, and Embakasi North 15 cases. This, as Mutahi says, there are possibilities of sending COVID-19 patients in Nairobi to county hospitals in order to relieve the already overburdened city county.
Back, I was talking about counties not sending people to Nairobi. Quite feasibly then, it is now possible that the reverse may actually be the truth. That some people, if Nairobi gets too overwhelmed before the counties, that it may be possible to do it the other way around.
The number of COVID-19 cases in the country has risen to 18,581 cases after 606 more people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours.
The distribution in counties, Nairobi heads the list at 448, Kiambu 54, Kajiado 25, Machakos 16, Uasin Gishu 11, Nakuru 11, Kericho 9, Busia 7, Mombasa 7, Garissa now 6, Bomet 3, Nyeri 2, Narok, Nandi, Embu, Lamu 1, and Muranga has also an additional 1.
75 more people have recovered after receiving treatment from various hospitals across the country, as 14 others succumbed to the virus. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
And still on COVID-19, the president's decision to close bars indefinitely is set to render thousands jobless in the country. Now, the directive that took effect last midnight has already seen most bars within Nairobi closed, as David Mudoka reports.
These are the scenes at most pubs and bars in the country following the closure of bars by the government government in a bid to tame COVID-19. At Salt's launch in Nairobi, operators are seen dismounting a television set from the walls, perhaps to embrace the new directives. A few meters ahead is the Edge Bar, with seats here already gathering dust. The locks on its doors that have been here for the past 4 months raise question on the whereabouts of its employees. Similar scenes have also been witnessed here at Mojo's, while at Sky Lounge, which doubles up as a restaurant, the inactivity here is deafening. This despite the management notifying customers that its restaurant wing will remain open. Employees here say the inactivity has seen the management downsize its workforce from over 100 to just 15. The remaining 15 remain afraid that their job security hangs in the balance. This as the Hoteliers Association PERAC feared that up to 500,000 Kenyans would lose jobs from the closure.
Thousands will be rendered jobless and businesses likely to collapse.
Health CS Mutai Kagwe has also reiterated President Uhuru Kenyatta's directive warning pubs and restaurants against defying orders. Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai has since been instructed to compile a weekly list of restaurants caught flouting regulations and risk a permanent cancellation of their licenses.
Sasa ujue ya kwamba kama ulikuwa umeanza kuuza mandazi kidogo kidogo ndio upate kuuza pombe, sasa wewe endelea na hiyo mandazi na samosa, lakini pombe usahau.
This as Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Major General Mohammed Badi said NRM will enforce the directive to the fullest.
Ours is to ensure that people obey the rules in terms of COVID.
Restaurants will also feel the sting alongside fellow bar operators, with the ban on selling alcohol in restaurants also taking effect. But is the crackdown on bars misinformed, misguided and targeted on the wrong people? Does it guarantee a reduction in COVID-19 infections, even as President Uhuru Kenyatta continues to shift the fight on COVID-19 from institutions to an individual responsibility?
The indefinite closure of bars is set to affect Kenyans by the hundreds of thousands. Many who depended on jobs from these bars now have their occupations clouded in uncertainty. David Muthoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the senators have rejected a motion by Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kang'ata to defer the implementation of the third basis for revenue sharing among the counties. 25 senators shot down the formula against 22 who were in support. Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja has, however, introduced another motion to allow the previous revenue sharing formula to be used.
We know what the decision we have made, and we are prepared to live with it. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go beyond that, but I beg the House, I really beg the House that we sleep over this matter and meet at the next sitting.
And devolution is not about running away with what you can get, but it's about sitting and saying, live and let live, not live and let die. My count, Mr. Speaker, where you also come from, in the permutation on the floor, we are gaining 928 million. But that's not the end in itself. We can walk away with that money. What about the Kenyan in Kwale? What about the Kenyan in Elgeyo Marakwet?
Now the kind of options that we have on the table, at least we shall not have a gaining and a losing counties. To me, I thought that was the main problem, Mr. Speaker, sir, why this discussion was so protracted. Now with the kind of two options we have, please, Mr. Speaker, sir, we shall, once we make the decision, we shall be brothers and sisters, because we shall go home knowing no single county has lost or has gained this financial year or even the next financial year. With those few remarks, I stand to oppose.
I want to see the people who are prepared to hang Makueni. So do it now. Don't postpone our misery. Hang us now. We are ready. So that from tomorrow, no senator will say that there's a country or a county of bushes, of livestock and shrubs. No senator will go to a wedding and threaten us. Threaten us on the floor with your vote. I oppose.
It will be the same senators a week from now, 3 months from now, a year from now. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, whatever it is that the senators will come up with here today, even a year from now, some will not be satisfied and some will be. So it does not make sense, Mr. Speaker, to keep postponing what we must do. Mr. Speaker, being a leader...
Now, that happened moments ago, and the Senate has just ended without a resolution. So let's listen in to that.
I'm going to make a ruling. Honorable Senators, I thought we had become very orderly and very serious, and the country is watching. Can you take a seat? Senator Mugeni and Senator Kachon? Senator Mo, yes. Senator... Honorable Senator, yes. Senator, come and take a seat. Honorable Senators, this is a discussion that has been with us for a very long time. This is a discussion that has come, is it 6 times, as a member said, and it has been thrown out. You cannot blame anybody except the senators themselves. So we need to blame ourselves first, instead of creating a crisis out of a situation that we could have saved. I want to appeal to you, senators. The number of senators I have here who want to contribute to this motion are 12 now. The amendment that we made, the first amendment that we had, we allowed 3 hours. We were extremely fair to Kangata's amendment. It would be extremely unfair not to give the amendment of Sakaja the right time. So we need another 3 hours. So that...
Now, there was chaos at City Hall early this morning after a section of Nairobi MCAs stormed into Speaker Beatrice Elachi's office trying to evict her. Now, Mlango Kubwa MCA Patricia Mudheo was roughed by police who were dispersing the MCAs. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, and FIDA have promised to pursue justice for the MCA, as Eli Logova now reports.
This was the situation at the Nairobi County Assembly Tuesday after some members of County Assembly were barred from serving the embattled Speaker Beatrice Elachi a notice of impeachment. Mlango Kubwa, member of County Assembly Patricia Mudheo, was caught up in the chaos that ensued at the City Hall and suffered injuries after being beaten by armed police officers.
I personally, I can't run towards the tear gas because of my condition. So when I told him, no, I can't go that way, he took the rungu himself and hit me here. When I tried to, he wanted to hit my face, and then I tried to block. That's when he hit my hand. And then 3 others joined him. They dragged me down, and they started beating me from down.
The Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA, has launched investigations into today's assault of MCA Patricia Mudheo by police officers when dispersing MCAs at City Hall. FIDA has also condemned the assault of the MCA Mudheo Musimi, promising to pursue legal action. The members of County Assembly had collected 59 signatures to ask Speaker Beatrice Elachi over and above the required 42 signatures for a notice of impeachment motion. The grounds for her ouster include illegal appointment of new assembly clerk, corruption, poor leadership, victimization of assembly staff, and disregard of the law and county orders. A section of women leaders from Nairobi, led by former Nairobi Women Representative Rachel Shebesh, condemned Speaker Elachi's move of involving the police in matters of county assembly, threatening to take action against her.
But I am begging and I am urging, Elachi, my sister, stop it. Stop. Politics is about dialogue. Nobody has ever used force in politics and won.
Mbona aite polisi wanaume kuja kuchapa kina mama wenzake? Na nataka tumuite IG Mutembei leo. Hatuambie ni kwa nini amepea ruhusa polisi kukuja kwenye county assembly kuja kupiga kina mama.
Meanwhile, the Nairobi County Assembly Clerk Jacob Ngwele has suspended the speaker from office until impeachment motion against her is tabled and debated. Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the supremacy battle between NMS boss Mohamed Badi and Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has now taken a new twist, with the two now disagreeing on the mayor's residence in Nairobi's Lavington estate. Now, Governor Mike Sonko has already announced plans to renovate the house after it was surrounded by EACC, but NMS claims that the house is under its office. Meanwhile, NMS has promised to clear Nairobi's pending bills once an audit is completed. Joash Ansari reports.
Major Badi, addressing the media in Nairobi on Tuesday, said Nairobi Metropolitan Service will set up 24 level 2 and 3 hospitals within 90 days to improve healthcare services in the city. NMS has also announced it had earmarked 11 public institutions for users treatment centers as part of its contingent's COVID-19 preparedness plan, in addition to the 24 hospitals.
Next week, we are going to do groundbreaking for the level 2 and level 3 hospitals. We do expect within 90 days they'll be complete. We are going to equip them, and remember that all these, out of the 24 hospitals that we are going to build, 5 of them had already started being built.
President Uhuru Kenyatta gave the Ministry of Health the go-ahead to use public institutions as isolation centers. Meanwhile, the leadership row in the city between NMS and Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko seems to be far from over. The two are now disagreeing on the mayor's residence in Nairobi's Lavington estate. Governor Mike Sonko has announced plans to renovate the house, but NMS boss claims the house is under his office.
We are taking up all county houses that have been dilapidated, and what we want to do is just to build them so more staff will have housing. And it's as simple as that. So if he wants to enter it, wait for us to rebuild it and we can enter it.
NMS boss Mohamed Badi has announced plans to pay the pending bills in the county dated back in 2013 after the auditing process is completed.
Ours, we want to verify that within the time the audit and the technical committee that's set to verify those pending bills, whether there are any that the county had paid. So any of those left, we might take care of them.
Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Joash Onsare, for that report. Many thanks for staying with us on TV47 News tonight. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back. Now, provincial administration has been and remains a thorn in the flesh in the counties since the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010. Governors now decry that county governments have had to shoulder a unique set of challenges for the last 7 years and now want a total change of the Constitution.
County commissioners come second and sometimes first in protocol ranking in counties, not to forget that there is no provision for their office in the 2010 Constitution of Kenya. In a Zoom meeting with the International Court of Justice lawyers, Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana says the governors have been facing a myriad of administrative challenges in the last 7 years of devolution. Kivutha says it has been hectic creating room for the provisional administration system in the counties, observing that full implementation of the devolution will require a total change of the constitution.
Because of the culture or because of the many, there were people from the national level, there were people, the staff that is, there were people from the local authorities, there were new people employed by the counties. So to get those three groups to jail so that you could begin to have a civil service of all of us, that was a major problem.
Governor Kibwana also decried incessant interference of county systems by the national government.
And one person has been killed in fresh clashes in Oluposumori area in Narok County. 5 others were injured, with the government now promising tougher actions.
Confirming the incident, Narok County Commissioner, who addressed the media after a closed-door security meeting in his office, said the boys who were hiding inside Masai Mao forest were attacked, leading to the death of one person.
Arifu akakuja akakuta hawa vijana wakichunga ng'ombe, akawapiga michare, mmoja akawawa, mwingine akajeruhiwa na watatu akatoroka. Wakati hao vijana walipigwa, ng'ombe 5 ziliibiwa.
Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembea has issued a warning that harsh actions will be taken against anyone who will be linked to the attacks. His sentiments were echoed by Narok County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti, who warned anyone trespassing into Mau Forest.
Kwa sababu watu wamekuwa wajinga huko, hawataki kufuata sheria, wanaona wakipigana labda serikali ndio inaumia. So tutawachunga kama vile wanachunga mbuzi. Watakuwa wanachungwa hivyo vile tunachunga mifugo, ndio hao wanachungwa.
Mtu mmoja mharifu akienda apiga yule mwingine mchare, hatutasema akiwa ametoka kwa Masai, ni wa Masai wote wanapigana, ama ni wa Kipsis wote wanapigana. Ni mharifu na tutakuwa tunamenyana na yeye kama mharifu, sio kama kabila.
The attackers are said to have walked away with 5 kettles after the attacks. A few weeks ago, residents were urged to surrender illegally held weapons. The government has been planning to start a door-to-door operation for those who didn't adhere to the government directives.
Upande wa Narok South, tumekuwa na National Cohesion and Integration Committee na ile peace building ya ofisi yetu, wameingiana kwa mkataba na sasa inatekelezwa. Kupatikana na mchare, hiyo ni silaha hatari, na nimeamurisha polisi, mtu atapatikana na silaha ya aina yote anaswe na awekwe ndani.
The area administration is now embarking on registration of livestock owned by every homestead in the area. Joash Onsare, TV47.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has launched guidelines to enhance the prosecution of cases. The new policy is aimed at improving service delivery in the justice system.
Speaking during the event, CJ David Maraga said the move is meant to enhance admiration of justice, build public trust and confidence, and also to verify the documents submitted as surety. The CJ also noted that technology is the new normal that criminals aren't comfortable with. He praised ODPP for the guidelines on decision to charge and the automation of its process.
In a timely and efficient manner, will enhance our individual and overall efficiency in the administration of justice. One such area, for instance, is the verification of documents submitted as security for those standing surety in the bail and bond applications. We have met serious challenges. Accused persons are released on forged documents, forged title deed. And we realize one instance in Eldoret where we had very many of those.
DPP Nuruddin Haji said that change isn't easy to execute as it requires utmost commitment. The case management system will need technological shift by all actors in the criminal justice sector. The DPP also expressed confidence that guidelines on decision to charge will enhance uniformity in dispensation of justice. The Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, said that the National Police Service has also started the digitization of its processes, a move that is meant to enhance service delivery by the investigative agency.
The ODPP is a critical link in the justice chain as the Constitution delegates immense authority to prosecutors. The reasoned exercise of prosecutorial discretion is essential to the fair, independent, and accountable administration of justice. The decision about whether to initiate charges, the charges to pursue, when to accept a negotiated plea, and what to advocate at sentencing are the most fundamental duties of prosecutors. We acknowledge that such authority must be accompanied by great responsibility. And in exercise of this authority, it is important that prosecutors follow processes and steps that ensure consistency, transparency, and accountability.
National Police Service is also in the process of digitizing its records, which is in line with the digitization programs so far noted in the judiciary and now ODPP. We look forward to closer working relationship with the DPP and other stakeholders in the criminal justice system.
The Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, said that the National Police Service has also started the digitization of its processes, a move that is meant to enhance service delivery by the investigative agency.
And Amani National Congress National Governing Council (NGC) has endorsed the party leader Musalia Mudavadi as their 2022 presidential flag bearer. The party now says it has given him the mandate to seek for votes and support from across the country. The NGC has also given him a go-ahead to form coalitions, alliances and cooperations with other parties willing to work with ANC pre- and post-2022 polls.
One of the most critical resolutions of this meeting was the endorsement of His Excellency Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi as ANC's presidential flag bearer for the year 2022. It is now therefore official that the highest organ of the party that makes a decision of this kind, the National Governing Council, has now endorsed and given His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi the mandate to go out there whenever it is that the elections will be, to begin soliciting for votes and for support from Kenyans.
NGC hereby mandates the NEC to run the party by making and implementing decisions that would otherwise require the NGC's approval and which are in the best interest of the party in the intervening period before the next formal meeting of the NGC, and for NEC to ensure that such decisions are brought to the next ordinary meeting of NGC for noting.
And elsewhere, Homa Bay Governor Cyprian Awiti was put to task to explain the expenditure of 651 million shillings paid to a known contractor, and yet no service was delivered in his county. Appearing before the Senate County Public Accounts and Investments Committee, Awiti failed to explain how payments were done and who was paid. Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang calling on EACC to take over the matter.
Here, that a lot of documentation could not be found. The county government was not able to provide the supporting document, and I'm not surprised that the auditor could only issue a disclaimer opinion. This matter, I can assure you, is already under investigation. This is part of the amount that we are investigating, but the figure is higher than this. Thank you, Chair.
This is a matter of a person being free or spending the rest of their life in jail. It is a very serious offense. In fact, what I would request for you to do is that please throw away that police obstruct completely. Throw it away. If you really want to get to the bottom line of this matter, the first thing that you ought to do is, one, reconstruct all the transactions. Follow up with the banks and also the auditors, maybe through Central Bank. Because I remember in a matter of Nairobi County, the auditors indicated to this committee that they had followed up to establish certain transactions through the Central Bank.
The county should have done what we call due diligence. Because by coming only by saying there was a fire incident in Homa Bay County, then what? So in as much as we agree the transfer was done from the commercial bank accounts to the commercial banks where they were being taken to, there is a paper trail, there is a trail somewhere. That is chair where we are looking at. So I wish the governor would have been magnanimous enough so that we can assist him by providing only these documents. If you can provide us with this, we can be able to make a decision from there, Governor.
And that's exactly what the Auditor General was asking you. The Auditor General is, beside the AIEs, says the propriety of the transfers could not be confirmed. The Auditor General is asking for documents to establish the accuracy and authenticity of the reported transfers. And I think, I know you gentlemen all very well individually, you understand English very well. You cannot come here to the Senate in the year 2020 with regards to a query of 2016 to tell us that we can do it, and you had all the time to do it. This smells like fraud and walks like fraud. 10% of the resources of Homa Bay.
Many thanks for staying with us on TV47 News tonight. We'll be taking a short break, but when we come back, we'll be discussing about the stalemate in the Senate about the revenue share divide, and the senators have just rejected the motion by Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kangata to defer the implementation of the that basis for revenue. We shall be talking about that and much more on now the way forward by the Senate. I'll be with the CEO of the Frontier Counties Development Council, Mohammed Simba Guled. Don't go away. Welcome back to TV47 News. Tonight, let's get to our discussion. And with me tonight to help us make sense of all the madness that's going on in the Senate, it's CEO of the Frontier Counties Development Council, Mohammed Simba Gulaid. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Simba. And just a while ago, the senators have just rejected the motion by Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kangata to defer the implementation of the third basis for revenue sharing among the counties, and 25 senators shut down the motion. 22 were in support of the motion. Now, Johnson Sakaja, Senator for Nairobi, his motion will continue. They've asked for more time. He wants the current formula to continue being used. So, Simba, what next in the Senate, and why the indecisiveness in the Senate?
Thank you very much. First of all, today something very historic happened. Let me say I'm very, very delighted and happy, and I really want to congratulate the members of the Senate for having chosen to make Kenya remain a united nation. What is happening in the Senate is basically an argument over how much money will go to the counties and which formula or mechanism to use. Remember, the Commission of Revenue Allocation recently proposed a new revenue sharing formula, which is quite a departure from the previous revenue sharing formula that had been designed by the former commission under the chairmanship of Mika Chesare. Now, under the new formula, many of the ASAL counties in the northern part of Kenya were disappointed because there was a lot of heavy weight or weighted element within the parameters of using population as the major determining factor for sharing of revenue. Remember, this will really disadvantage the counties in the northern parts of Kenya, particularly the arid counties where population is much sparsely distributed, and many often these counties have bigger land mass but less population. Therefore, it is basically a question of competition of resources. There are counties that have, let's say, won or are getting more resources under the new formula, and there are those that are going to lose. Now, from the matrix that I saw, close to 19 counties will have lost about 10 billion shillings combined. That will have really caused them a big disruption in terms of their development planning. So tonight or this evening, what has happened in the Senate is really something to be celebrated, because what it has shown is that the part of this country which has, or the haves, have really cared about the have-nots. So regarding now what will happen next, I suspect there will be a debate again sometimes next week, probably to redesign again the motion. But basically, I think the cast is die, and the CRA formula, and including the amendment done by the Senator Kangata, has been rejected by the Senate with a vote of 25 to 22.
Simba, let's talk a bit about the marginalized counties before we talk about the counties losing money and the ones gaining. They've been receiving billions of money for the last 7 years. So how has this money been put to use, according to you?
Indeed, if you look in perspective, most counties in this arid region have really seen dramatic improvement. Let me give you just an example. Counties like Wajir, Mandera, Turkana, where wananchi have never seen a tarmac road. I mean, there were people, I can tell you, who were born, who have grown to old age, and who have never seen in their life a tarmac road or a black road, have for the first time been able to see and enjoy to ride or drive on this kind of a road. For the first time, in some counties like Wajir, a Caesarean section was performed. This has never happened before devolution. For the first time, we have seen movement of human resource from the center in Nairobi to the periphery, where people now have decided to go and use their knowledge, and their intellectual capacity to go and support their communities. This is a huge shift. And let me just point out also one more thing. Most of these counties in the arid part of Kenya, previously, before devolution and the Constitution 2010, barely received any money from the national government. I remember the entire northeastern province used to receive an average of between 150 to 200 million shillings combined in terms of investment. Today, you have seen the amount of money they use. So definitely, devolution is also a work in progress. It will not be, a change overnight. There's a lot of institutional development that has to take place. Capacity enhancement must take place. So also to expect quick fix is also unrealistic. But overall, if you look at what has happened in terms of healthcare, just another example, maternal child deaths in before revolution, 80 or 85% of all the maternal child deaths used to happen in what we call now the FCDC counties, or the Frontier Development Council counties. So, and today, the county of Mandera alone has halved from almost, I think, over 3,000 to 4,000 deaths per year to less than half of that. That's a huge and tremendous improvement. Today, let me also say, many of these counties, you can do a dialysis, process in the hospitals. You can get renal, interventions. You can some of them even different kind of operations that are taking place. So over and above, I think the monies that have been sent to these counties have been used well, in my view. Many people may not agree with me, but the truth of the matter is that there's quite an improvement in comparison to what it used to be previously.
Simba, there are people or some who would argue that more revenue should go to where there's more tax collection. Would that be a valid argument?
I think that is contrary to the rule of nature. You rather assist the one that does not have. I know Christians are very familiar with this. The biblical statement that says, to those who have, you give more, and to those who don't have, even the little is taken away. That's what this revenue sharing formula was proposing. Besides, I think it was also a myth that some of these counties, which were presumed to be, generating more revenue for the exchequer, may not actually be the case. I have seen analysis that have been now floated to the social media, and many of them are already suggesting that in reality is that most of the revenue generated for this country is basically generated in Nairobi and the major towns. True. But some of these, rural counties really do not generate much revenue. But I also don't suggest that they should also get a reduction. All maybe the people from the region I come from are pleading for is that we should all be treated equally and with equity. Everybody should be given what he already had received before. I mean, imagine counties had already been receiving these monies for the last 7 years. And then all of a sudden you go and reduce, for example, the county of Mandera will get a reduction of 2 billion, county of Wajir 2 billion, Garissa 2 billion, Marsabit almost 2 billion, Turkana something similar. It's quite unfair. You've already planned. It is similar to giving a small child some sweets and then halfway you can bring it and give it to your friend. It doesn't really make sense. Besides that, the formula also contravenes the Constitution. When you look at the Constitution, Article 203 already prescribes what should happen with regard to equity. This constitutional article or clause really advocates for equity, for equal distribution of resources, for harmony, for harmonization, and for also ensuring that counties that have been left behind are also supported. What has really happened in the last few years is that the Constitution also had set aside, or rather has prescribed for sharing of revenue through what we call the Equalization Fund. Unfortunately, in the last 10 years, not a single cent from this fund, or very little from this fund, has been disbursed. So really, these counties in the north that have been forgotten, or these counties in the arid region, including some in the southern part of this country, like Narok, and coastal parts have really suffered in the last 50, 60 years. And you only need to visit these counties to see the disparity. So we have to bridge disparity and ensure that we all come to common terms and feel that we are part of this country. So that's why also I'm very excited that the Senate today has put this forward.
Counties could argue that they have also suffered for some time, and it's their turn now to benefit from the funds. So how should the balance be struck in ensuring that the less populous with a large landmass and also the counties with less landmass but more population also benefit? How should all this be balanced?
Remember, we are now only discussing about the shareable revenue through the Division of Revenue Act or law. But that makes up only about a fraction, according to the Constitution, 15% of the national funds that are collected and put through the consolidated funds. 85% of those funds still go to these populous counties. Remember, other than the devolution funds, very little from national government investment still go to these arid counties. So it's really not really fair to go after the little that has been disbursed while we forget that we have still a huge amount of resources that is still disbursed within the central part of this country towards the west and other parts of the Rift Valley, to the exclusion of, I should say, without fear, of the forgotten part of this country. And really the rain started beating us in the early 60s, just about the time of the independence, when our founding fathers decided to prescribe a development policy that excluded any form of investment and development to these poorer counties. So I think it is just fair for the rest of Kenya that right now enjoys these privileges to think and also, think about their poor brethren just across. Remember, when you put investments in these counties, it doesn't mean they're only for the residents of those counties. It is a development initiative for the whole of the Republic of Kenya. So let's say money is put in Mandera. Mandera is not to the exclusion of the rest of the people in Kenya. But if Mandera develops today, it's to the benefit of everybody, and we can all go there, visit, enjoy, the investments by the government, do their businesses, and, participate. Kenya is for everybody. I mean, why would you want one area to remain poor and make one area richer? What you're actually doing is that you're going to have a pull factor of more people coming into this region where you're putting more money. So the more you distribute this, better.
But we have more people, even from other counties, coming, for instance, to Nairobi to get services, for instance, medical services and other services. We have less people coming to counties like Wajir and Mandera. So is that a valid argument coming from you?
Yes, because Nairobi actually is a really exceptional case. But remember also, part of the 85% of the other resources, a large part of it already goes to Nairobi. Just look at the level of development in Nairobi. You have almost tarmac road everywhere. Electricity is covering almost every house. Water is almost available to everybody. Hospitals are within proximity. So the government had already done enough investment, and it's still doing so. I'll give you an example. The Kenyatta National Hospital, which is the largest referral hospital, is based in Nairobi, and it receives a budget of close to 10 billion shillings, more than what the county of Mandera receives, or the other counties in the northern part of Kenya. So there's already a huge amount of investment coming into Nairobi in one way or the other. So it is not really true that the monies that are being spent by the government, the treasury, is only the shareable revenue for devolution. So I think that's what people often forget. And the best thing to do, I think, instead of reducing, actually what we ought to do is actually increase so that these counties can catch up with the rest of Kenya. Look at the development index. Look at the child mother mortality. Look at access to water. Look at poverty rates. Look at the number of children accessing schools. So we have a huge challenge in those counties, and if we want them to stay that way, let me say we'll have two Kenyas. We'll have Kenya in the north and we'll have Kenya in the south, which is quite developed and advanced.
Simba, as we're winding up, the Senate has had more than a year to deliberate on this, and it's an issue that's still being postponed, and there's COVID-19 pandemic. We have no idea when it's going to go away. We have no idea if we'll still have the 316 billion shillings. The economy is on its knees right now. So does it make sense to keep postponing it? And while you answer that, also answer, how does this also affect the handshake? Does it in any way?
First of all, I really thank you that you have raised the issue of revenue at the national level. I know this country is really depressed. In fact, the Senate's debate on this is misplaced. Really, let me just go back to the division of revenue. Even if those counties in the north lose 10 billion, for them a lot of money, I do not see it having much bigger impact than it already does if it is partially distributed to the counties. So it doesn't really make sense. They should not have even wasted time. They should have just kept the old formula. And now we start working very hard to see to it that we are able to raise the 316 billion. So I agree with you, their priority is misplaced. On the handshake, unfortunately, has had a very slow process. The COVID had really delayed, I think, the process which was to take place early this year. But I do not see this event having any impact on the handshake. Remember, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga sided with the government side yesterday when he gave a statement saying that the Senate should support the new formula. But the Senate has decided otherwise. It also just shows how free our country is and how democracy is working. I think what the Senate today has shown is that it's a free institution. It is capable of debating, and it cannot be, coerced. So if they can keep this and their independence, and going forward, they are able to make decisions based on the rationale rather than being bullied into by one or two individuals, I think as Kenyans will have really gained, and that's for us development.
Thank you so much, Simba, for helping us make sense of all that's going on in the Senate and that will be going on in the future on the revenue allocation formula. That has been the CEO of the Frontier Counties Development Council, Mohammed Simba Guled. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining us on TV47 News Night. That's all the time we've had. And I'll be leaving you with the weather forecast. My name is Mombi Chege. Our sign language interpreter for tonight has been Faith Cheptile. Do have a blessed night.